The Book of the Secrets, a new commentary. Discourse number 1, given in Bombay, India.
Life is a paradox, and to reach near, you have to travel far. And that which is already achieved, you have to achieve it again. Nothing is lost. Man remains natural. Man remains pure. Man remains innocent. But only he forgets it. The purity is not disturbed. The innocence is not destroyed. But only a deep forgetfulness is there. So that which is to be achieved, you are already. In essence, nothing new is to be achieved. You have only to discover, uncover, unfold that which is already the case. Hence both the difficulty of spiritual endeavor and the simplicity. I say both. It is very simple if you can understand. It is very difficult because to understand that which you have completely forgotten, that which is so obvious that you never become aware of it, that which is just like your breathing. It goes on continuously, uninterruptedly. But because it goes on continuously, uninterruptedly, you may not be aware of it. Your awareness is not needed. It is not a basic requirement. You can forget it, or you can remember it. It is a choice. Samsara and Nirvana, the world and the liberated state of consciousness, are not two things. Just two attitudes. Just two choices. You can choose either. You can be in the world because of a certain attitude, and the same world becomes Nirvana. The same world becomes absolute bliss just by changing the attitude. You remain the same. Everything remains the same. Just a change of focus, a change of emphasis, a change of choice. It is easy. Once achieved, you will laugh about it. Once known, you will not be able to understand why you were missing it, how you could miss it. It was there, always, waiting for you, just to be looked at, and it was yours. A Buddha laughs. Anyone who achieves it laughs, because the whole thing seems to be ridiculous. You were searching for something which was never lost. The whole effort was absurd. But this happens only when you have achieved it. So those who have achieved it, they say it is very simple. But those who have not achieved it, it is the most arduous, the most difficult. Really, not the difficult, but the impossible. These matters which we will be discussing are told by someone who has achieved. Remember this. They will look too simple. They are. But to our minds, things so simple cannot be appealing. Because if techniques are so simple, and the abode is so near, you are already in it. If techniques are so simple, and the home is so near, you will look ridiculous to yourself. And why you are missing it? So rather to feel the ridiculousness of your own ego, you will think such simple matters cannot help. That's the deception. Your mind will tell you that these simple matters cannot be of any help. They are so simple, they cannot achieve anything. And to achieve divine existence, to achieve the absolute and the ultimate, how such simple matters can be used? How they can be of any help? Your ego will say, they cannot be of any help. Remember another thing, ego is always interested in something which is difficult. Because when something is difficult, there is a challenge. And if you can overcome the difficulty, your ego will feel fulfilled. The ego is never attracted towards anything which is simple. Never. If you want to make your ego challenged, then you have something difficult to be devised. If something is simple, there is no appeal. Because even if you can conquer it, there will be no fulfillment of the ego. In the first place, there was nothing to be conquered. The thing was so simple. Ego asks for difficulties, some hurdles to be crossed, some peaks to be conquered. And the more difficult the peak, the more at ease your ego will feel. Because these techniques are so simple, they will not have any appeal in your mind. Remember, that which appeals to the ego cannot help for your spiritual growth. That which has got no appeal for your ego can only be a help towards transformation. But this happens. If some teacher says that this is very difficult, very arduous, only in lives and lives and lives, you will have any possibility for any glimpse. Your ego will feel good. These techniques are so simple that right now, here and now, the thing is possible. Then there is no conflict with your ego. If I say right now, here, this very minute, you can achieve all that is possible to man. You can become a Buddha, or a Christ, or a Krishna. In this very moment, here and now, not losing a single instant, then there will be no conflict with your ego. You will say this is not possible. I must go somewhere else to search it. And these techniques are so simple that you can achieve all that is possible to you decide to achieve it. When I say these techniques are simple, I mean many things. First, spiritual explosion is not caused by anything. It is not a causal phenomenon. If it is caused by something, then time will be needed. Because for the cause to take place, time will be needed. And if time is needed, then this very moment it cannot be the case. It cannot happen. Then you will have to wait for tomorrow, or for another life. The next moment will be needed. If anything is causal, then the cause has to take place. And then after the cause, the effect will follow. And you cannot produce the effect right now without the cause. So time will be needed. But spiritual happening is not a causal phenomenon. You are already in that state. Just a remembering. It is not a causal phenomenon. Just a remembering. It is just like this in the morning. Someone has suddenly awakened you. And you cannot recognize where you are. For a moment. You may not even recognize who you are. A sudden awakening from deep sleep. You will not be able to recognize the place, the time. But within a moment, you will recognize. The more alert you will become, you will recognize who you are and where you are and what has happened. This is not a causal thing. Just a question of alertness. A growing alertness, and you will recognize it. All these techniques are for growing alertness. You are already the person you long to be. You are already where you want to reach. You have reached your home already. You have never left it really. You have always been there, but dreaming, asleep. You can fall asleep here, and then you can dream. And in your dream you can move anywhere. You can go to the hell or to the heaven or anywhere. Have you ever observed that whenever you are in your dream, one thing is certain, you are never in the room in which you are asleep. Have you observed this fact? Anywhere you can be, but you will never be in the same room on the same cot where you are. Because if you are already there is no need to dream about it. Dream means you have drifted away. You will be sleeping in this room, but you will never dream of this room. There is no need. You are already there. And the mind desires something which is not. So the mind moves. It may go to London, to New York, to Calcutta, to anywhere. To the Himalayas, to Tibet. It may go anywhere, but it will never be here. It can be anywhere, but never here. And you are here. And this is how is the case. You are dreaming. Your divine existence is here. You are that. But you have drifted along. And each dream creates a new sequence of dreaming. Each dream creates new dreams. And you go on dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. All these techniques are just to make you alert, so that you come out of your dreams back to the place where you have always been. To the state which you have never missed. And you cannot miss it. It is your nature. It is Swabhav. It is your very being. So how can you miss it? These techniques are just to help your alertness to grow more, to become more intense. With the intensity of awareness, everything changes. The more intense the awareness, less the possibility for dreaming. You become more and more alert about the real. Less intense awareness, you drift into dreaming. So the whole phenomena is, non-alert state of mind is the world. Alert state of the mind is nirvana. Non-alert, you are what you appear to be. Alert, you are what you are. So the whole question is how to change your non-alert state of mind into an alert state of mind. How to become more aware. How to get out of sleep and dreaming. That's why techniques can be of help. Even an alarm clock can be of help. Just an artificial device. Just an alarm clock. But if the alarm goes on, it can help to bring you out of your dream. But you can deceive it also. You can even dream about it. And then the whole thing is falsified. When the alarm goes, you can dream. You can weave a dream around the alarm also. You can dream that you have entered a temple and the bells are going on. No, you have deceived the alarm. It could have broken your sleep. But you can change it into a dream itself. You can make it part of your dreaming. If you can make part of it in your dreaming, if it can be absorbed into a dreaming process, then it cannot help you. You can dream anything. And then it will not look like an alarm. It has become something else. And you have entered the temple and the bells are on. Now there is no need. You have changed the alarm, the real thing, into a dream. And the dream cannot be disturbed by another dream. It can be only helped. These techniques are all artificial in a way. They are just devices to help you bring out of your dreaming state. But you can make them also part of your dream. Then you miss the point. Try to understand this because this is very basic. And once understood will be helpful. Otherwise you can go on deceiving yourself. For example, I say that take a jump into someone else. That is just a device. Your own identity is broken. Your own name becomes as if it belongs to someone else. You can look at your past more detachedly. You can be a witness. You are aloof, a distance is created. I'll give you a new name and a new robe, just to create the distance. But you can make it part of your dreaming. Then you will miss the whole point. You can think in terms of the old Esther, that the old man A has taken sannyas. I have taken sannyas. I remain the old. I have changed my robe, my name, but I remain the old, and the old continues. Now this sannyas is just something added to the old. It is not discontinuous. It is continuous. If it is continuous, if you have taken sannyas, you the old, if you have changed your robes and name, you have missed the point. You must be dead. You must not be now the old. You must feel that the old has died. This is a new entity I never knew. This is not a growth out of the old. This is discontinuous with the old. Then the device helps. Then the alarm works. And the technique is useful. And you are not missing the point. All these techniques are such. You can miss, you can use. It depends. But remember well, the techniques are just techniques. If you understand the spirit, you may even become alert without any technique. For example, the alarm clock may not be needed. Go deeply in it. Why you need an alarm clock? If you want to get up early in the morning at 3, why you need an alarm clock? Deeply, you know that you can deceive yourself. And deeply you know that if you really want to get up at 3, you will get up at 3 and no clock is needed. But with the clock, the responsibility is put off. Now you will not be responsible. Now if something goes wrong, the clock will be responsible. You can sleep now with ease. When the clock is there, you can sleep without any disturbance. But if you really want to get up early at 3, you will get up early at 3, no clock is needed. This very intensity to get up will bring the happening. This will to get up at 3 may be so intense, you may not be able to sleep at all. And there will be no need to get up. You will be already awake the whole night. But to sleep well, the clock is needed. Then you can go to sleep. But this man can deceive. When the alarm goes, he can deceive. He can dream about it. These techniques are helpful only because your intensity is low. If you are really intense, there is no need of any technique. You can be alert. But your intensity is not such. Then, even with the technique, you may start dreaming. And many possibilities are there. The first possibility is that you will not believe that such simple techniques can be of any help. This is the first thing. Then there is no contact. Second, you may think that a very, very long process is needed. It will come gradually. But there are certain things that will only happen suddenly. They never come gradually. I am reminded, Muhammad Nasruddin was asked to give his blessings to one of his neighbor's son on his birthday. So he said, "Son, I hope you live 120 years plus 3 months." So he said, "Was okay, but this plus 3 months." The son asked, "But why? It is okay, 120 years, but why plus 3 months?" So Mullah Nasruddin said, "I would not like you to die so suddenly. Just 120 years and you die suddenly. I would not like you to die so suddenly. That's why plus 3 months. But even plus 3 months, you will die suddenly. Anyway, whenever you are going to die, you will die suddenly. Every death is a sudden death. No death is gradual. Because either you are alive or dead, and there is no gradual process. One moment you are alive and next moment you are dead. And there is no time process. Death is sudden. Samadhi is also sudden. Spiritual explosion is also sudden. It is like death. It is more like death than like life. It is sudden. It can happen any minute. If you are ready, these techniques can be of help. They will not bring it gradually. They will really bring you gradually to be ready for the sudden happening. Remember this distinction. They are preparing you. So the sudden samadhi happens. These techniques are not techniques for samadhi. They are techniques to prepare you. And then samadhi happens. So it depends on you how you use these techniques. So don't think that a very long process is needed, because that may be just a trick. Mind is a very long process. So you can postpone. You can say, tomorrow I will do it. The day after tomorrow. And you can go and postpone forever. A postponing mind goes on, always postpone. It is not a question that you are going to do it tomorrow. This is only a question you are not going to do it today. That's all. Tomorrow will again be a today. And the same mind will say, okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And remember, you never postpone for years. You always postpone for one day. Because if you postpone for years, you cannot deceive yourself. You say it is only a question of one day. Just today I'm not doing it. Tomorrow I will do it. And the gap is so small that you never feel you are postponing it forever. Tomorrow never comes. It is always today. And this mind which thinks in terms of tomorrow will always think in terms of tomorrow. And it never comes. It has never been. It will never be. All that you have got is this very moment. So don't go on postponing. Now we will enter the technique. First technique. At the start of sneezing, during fright, in anxiety, above a charge, flying in battle, in extreme curiosity, at the beginning of hunger, at the end of hunger, be uninterruptedly aware. Looks so simple. At the start of sneezing, during fright, in anxiety, or before hunger, or after hunger, be uninterruptedly aware. Many things have to be understood. Very simple acts like sneezing can be used as devices. Because howsoever simple they look, they are very complex. And the inner mechanism is a very delicate thing. Whenever you feel that the sneeze is coming, become alert. And the sneeze may not come at all. It may simply disappear. Because sneeze is a non-voluntary thing. Unconscious, non-voluntary. You cannot sneeze voluntarily, you cannot will it. Or can you? How helpless man is, you cannot will a single sneeze. Try whatsoever, you cannot bring it out. A single sneeze, such a small thing. But you cannot will it. It is non-voluntary. Volition is not needed. It is not by our mind. It is by our total organism, by our total body. And the second thing, when you become alert when the sneeze is coming, you cannot bring it, but when it is coming, if you become alert, it may not come. Because something new you are bringing to the process, the alertness, it may disappear. But when the sneeze disappears and you are alert, a third thing, first sneeze is non-voluntary. You bring a new thing. Second, alertness. When the alertness comes, sneeze may not. If really you are alert, it will not. It may not happen at all. Then third thing happens. The energy that was going to be released through sneeze, where it will move? It moves to your alertness. Suddenly there is a flash, a lightning. You become more alert. The energy that was going to be thrown by a sneeze moves into alertness. You become suddenly more alert. In that flash, in that lightning, even enlightenment is possible. That's why I say these methods are so simple, they look absurd. Their promise seems to be too much. Just through sneezing, how one can become enlightened. But sneezing is not just sneezing, you are totally involved in it. Whatsoever you do, or whatsoever happens to you, is a total involvement. Observe again, whenever a sneeze happens, you are totally in it. The whole body, the whole mind. It is not just your nose where the sneeze is happening. Your every fiber, every cell of the body is involved in it. A subtle trembling, a subtle wavering goes all over the body, and with it, the whole body becomes concentrated. And when the sneeze has happened, the whole body relaxes. But it is difficult to bring alertness to it. If you bring alertness to it, it will not happen. And if it happens, you can know that the alertness was not there. That's why, be alert. At the start of sneezing, because if it has started, nothing can be done. The arrow has gone. You cannot change it now. The mechanism has started, the energy is on release. It cannot be stopped. Can you stop a sneeze in the middle? How can you stop it in the middle? By the time you are ready, it has already happened. You cannot stop it in the middle. Just in the beginning, become alert. The moment you feel the sensation that it is coming, become alert. Close your eyes, be meditative. Bring your total consciousness to the focus. Just where you are feeling the sensation of a coming sneeze. Just in the beginning. Remain alert. The sneeze will disappear. And the energy will be transformed into more alertness. And because in the sneeze, the whole body is involved, the whole mechanism is involved, it is a release mechanism. And you are alert at that moment. There will be no mind. There will be no thought, no meditation. In a sneeze, thinking stops. That's why so many people like snuff. It unburdens them. Their mind feels more relaxed. Because first, a moment, thinking stops. Snuff gives them a glimpse of no thinking. Through snuff, when the sneeze comes, they are not minds, they become bodies. The head disappears. For a single moment. But it feels good. If you become habituated to snuff, it is very difficult to leave it. It is a more penetrating habit than smoking. Smoking is nothing before it. It penetrates more deeply. Because smoking is conscious and sneezing is unconscious. To leave snuff is more difficult than to leave smoking. And smoking can be changed, substitutes can be found, but there is no substitute for snuff. Because really, sneezing is a very unique phenomenon in the body. The only other thing that can be compared and has been compared is sex act. Those who think in terms of physiology, they say sex act is just sneezing through sex organ. And the similarity is there. It is not 100% right. Because much more is involved in sex. Greater things are involved in it. But in the beginning, just in the beginning, the similarity is there. Something is thrown out from the nose, you feel relieved, and something is thrown out from the sex organ, and you feel relieved. And both are non-voluntary. You cannot move into sex with will. You try and you will be a failure. Particularly men. Because men's sex organ has to do something. It is active. You cannot will its act. And if you try, the more you try, the more impossible. It can happen, but you cannot make it happen. Because of this, in the West, sex has become a problem. Because this half century, in the West, sex knowledge has developed, and everyone has become so conscious about it, that the sex act is becoming more and more impossible. If you are alert, sex will be impossible. If a man is alert, making love, the more he is alert, the more it will be difficult. He cannot get the erection. It cannot be willed. And if you will it, you will lose it. The same method, the same technique can be used. Just in the beginning, when you feel the sensation of erection, just coming to you, not yet, it has not come, just to feel the vibration, become alert. The vibration will be lost. And the same energy will move into alertness. Tantra has used it. They have tried in many ways. A beautiful naked woman will be there, just as an object for meditation. And the seeker, the meditator, will sit before the nude woman, meditating on her body, form, proportion. Just waiting for the first sensation in his sex center. The moment the sensation is there, he will close his eyes, he will forget the woman, he will close his eyes and become alert of the sensation. Now sex energy is being transformed into alertness. He is allowed to meditate on the nude woman only up to the point when the sensation is felt. Then he has to close his eyes and now move to his own sensation and become alert there. The same as it is done in sneezing. And why this flash happens? Because mind is not there. The basic thing is, if the mind is not there and you are alert, you will have satori. You will have the first glimpse of samadhi. Thought is the barrier. So in any way, if thought disappears, the thing will happen. But the thought must disappear only when alertness is there. Because thought can disappear even in sleep. Thought can disappear when you go unconscious. Thought can disappear when you take some drug. But then, thought disappears, but there is no alertness to be aware of the phenomena that is hidden behind thought. So I define meditation as thoughtless consciousness. You can become thoughtless and unconscious, then there is no meaning. You can be conscious with thought, you are already that. Bring these two things together, consciousness and thoughtlessness. When they meet, meditation happens. Meditation is born. And with very small things you can try. Because nothing is small. Even a sneeze is a cosmic phenomenon. In existence, nothing is great and nothing is small. Even a minute atom can destroy the whole world. And even a sneeze, a very atomic phenomenon, can transform you. So don't see things as small, big. There is nothing small and nothing big. If you have the penetrating eye, then very small things are vital. And between atoms, universes are hidden. And between universe and atom, you cannot say which is great and which is small. Even a single atom is a universe in itself. And the greatest universe is nothing but atoms. So don't think in terms. Just try. Don't say, what can happen in a sneeze? I have been sneezing the whole life and nothing has happened. Bring this technique just at the start of sneezing. During flight, when you feel afraid and the fear enters. Just when you feel the fear has entered, become aware. And fear will disappear. With alertness, there can be no fear. How can you be afraid when you are alert? You can be afraid only when you lose alertness. Really, a coward is not a person who is afraid. A coward is a person who is asleep. And a brain man is a person who can bring his alertness to the moments of fear. So fear disappears. In Japan, they train their warriors for alertness. The basic training is for alertness. And everything is secondary. Swordsmanship, archery, everything is secondary. It is known, it is said, about the great Zen master, Rinzai, that he never succeeded in his archery to get to the right point, to the right aim. His arrow always missed. It never reached to the right point. And he is known as one of the greatest archers. So it is asked how Rinzai is known as the greatest archer. When he never succeeded in any aim, and the point was always missed, his arrow never reached to the right point, how he is known as one of the greatest archers? So the followers of Rinzai say, it is not the end, it is the beginning. We are not concerned with the arrow reaching to the end, we are concerned with the arrow when it starts its journey. We are concerned with Rinjai. When the arrow leaves the bow, he is alert. That's all. It is not that is irrelevant. And sometimes it happens. One man was a disciple to Rinjai. He was a great archer himself. He never missed his aim. And then he came to learn to Rinjai. So somebody said, to whom you are going to learn? He is not a master. He is not even a disciple. He is a failure. And you are a great master. And you are going to learn to Rinjai. So that archer said, yes, because I have succeeded. Technically. But as far as my consciousness is concerned, I am a failure. He is technically a failure. But as far as his consciousness is concerned, he is the archer and the master. Because when the arrow leaves, he is alert. And that's the point. This archer who was a master technically had to learn for years under Rinjai. And every day, 100% he was accurate in his aiming. And Rinjai will say, no, you are a failure. The arrow leaves technically right, but you are not there. You are not alert. You leave it in your sleep. In Japan, they have been training their warriors first to be alert, then everything is secondary. A warrior will be a brave man if he can be alert. And it was felt in the Second World War that you cannot match Japanese warriors. Their bravery is incomparable. From where it comes? Physically, they are not so strong, but in consciousness, in alertness. Fear cannot enter. They are not afraid. And whenever fear comes, they will try. Same methods. This sutra says, during fight, in anxiety, when you feel anxious, much anxiety within, try it. What one is to do? What do you do? Ordinarily, when anxiety is there, what you do? You try to solve it. You try alternatives, and you get more and more into it. You will create a bigger mess. Because anxiety cannot be solved through thinking. It cannot be dissolved through thinking, because thinking itself is a sort of anxiety. So you help it to grow more. Through thinking, you cannot come out of it. You will go deeper into it. This technique says, don't do anything with anxiety. Just be alert. Just be alert. I will tell you one anecdote about Bokuju, another Zen master. He lived alone in a cave. All alone. But during the day, or even in the night, he will sometimes loudly say, Bokuju, his own name. And then he will say, yes, I am here. And there was no one else. So his disciples used to ask him, why you call Bokuju your own name? And then he say, yes, sir, I am here. He said, whenever I get into thinking, I have to remember, be alert. So I call my name Bokuju. The moment I call Bokuju, and I say, yes, sir, I am here, the thinking, the anxiety disappears. Then, in his last days, for 2 or 3 years, he never called his name Bokuju, and never had to reply, yes, sir, I am here. So his disciples asked, Master, now you never do that. So he said, but now Bokuju is always there. He is always there and there is no need. Before, I used to miss him. Sometimes the anxiety will take me, cloud me all over. And Bokuju was not there, then I have to remember Bokuju, and the anxiety will disappear. Try this. This is a beautiful thing. Try your name. When you feel deep anxiety, just try your name, Bokuju. Any name, but your name. And then reply it, yes, sir, I am here, and feel the difference. The anxiety will not be there. At least for a single moment, you will have a glimpse beyond the clouds. And that glimpse can be deepened. Once you know that if you become alert, anxiety is not there. It disappears. You have come to a deep knowing of your own self and the mechanism of inner workings. Above the Chas, flying in battle, in extreme curiosity, at the beginning of hunger, at the end of hunger, be uninterruptedly aware. You can use anything. Hunger is there, become alert. What you do when you feel hunger is there? What has happened? When you feel hunger, you never see it as something happening to you. You become hunger. You feel, I am hungry. The real feeling is, I am hunger. But you are not hunger. You are conscious of it. It is something on the boundary happening. You are the center who has become aware of it. It is an object. You remain the subject. You are a witness. You are not hunger. Hunger is happening to you. You were there when hunger was not. And you will be there when hunger will have gone. So hunger is an accident. It happens to you. Become alert. Then you will not be identified with it. If you feel hunger, become alert that hunger is there. Look at it. Encounter it. Face it. What will happen? The more you become alert, the far away hunger will be felt. Less alert, nearer. If you are not alert, exactly at the center, you will feel, I am hunger. If you become alert, hunger is thrown away. Hunger is there, you are here. Hunger is an object, you are a witness. Fasting has been used only because of this, for this technique. Fasting in itself of no use. If you are not doing this technique with hunger, fasting is foolish. Just foolish. Of no use. Mahavir used fasting with this technique, and Jains have been using simply fasting without this technique. Then it is foolish. You are just destructive. And it cannot be of any help. You can be hungry for months and identified with hunger that I am hungry. Useless, harmful. There is no need to go on a fast. Every day you can feel it, but there are problems. That's why fast may be helpful. Ordinarily, we stuff ourselves barefoot before we feel hunger. In the modern world, there is no need to feel hunger. You have a time fixed for your meals you take. You never ask whether the body is feeling hungry or not. Fixed hours and you take your meal. Hunger is not felt. You may say that no, when it is 1 o'clock, I feel hungry. That may be a false hunger. You feel because it is 1 o'clock. Your time. Someday you can play a trick. Tell to your wife or your husband to change the clock. And it is 12 and the clock says it is 1. You will feel hunger. Or it is already 1 hour fast. It is 2 exactly and the clock shows 1. Then you feel hunger. You look at the clock and you feel hunger. This is artificial, false. It is not real. So fasting may be helpful. If you fast, then for 2 or 3 days you will feel false hunger. Only after the 3rd or 4th day, real hunger will be felt. Your body will demand, not the mind. When mind demands, it is false. When the body demands, it is real. And when it is real, and you become alert, you become totally different from your body. Hunger is a body phenomenon. Once you can feel that hunger is different from you, and you are a witness to it, you have transcended the body. But you can use anything. These are just examples. This technique can be used in many ways. You can devise your own way. But insist on one thing. If you are trying it with hunger, then go on trying at least for 3 months with hunger. Then only someday you will be disidentified with your body. Don't change it every day. Because a deepening is needed in any technique. So for 3 months, choose anything. Stick to it as another technique. And go on working with it. And always remember, in the beginning, in the middle, it will be very difficult. Because once the identity is felt that you are hungry, you cannot change it. You can just change mentally. You can say, no, I am not hungry, I am a witness. That is false. This is knowing, telling. This is not a feeling experience. Just try in the beginning. And remember, you are not to say that I am not hunger. This is how mind can deceive. You can say, the hunger is there. You can say, I am not hunger, I am not body, I am Brahma. You are not to say anything. Because whatsoever you say will be false, because you are false. This changing will not help that I am not body. You go and say I am not body because you know that you are body. If you really know you are not the body, what is the use of saying it? I am not the body. No use. It will look stupid. Be aware. And then this feeling will be there. I am not body. This will not be a thought. This will be a feeling. This will not be felt in the head. This will be felt all over your being. You will feel the distance that the body is far away. I am absolutely different. And there is no possibility even of mixing both. They cannot. Because body is matter and you are consciousness. They can live together but they never mix. They cannot get mixed. Second technique. The purity of other teachings is an impurity to us. In reality, know nothing as pure or impure. This is one of the basic Tantra methods. Very difficult to conceive. It was absolutely non-ethical, non-moral. I will not say immoral, because Tantra is not concerned with morality or immorality. Tantra says it is irrelevant. This method is to help you grow beyond purity and impurity. Beyond division, really. Dichotomy, duality. Tantra says existence is non-dual. It is one. And all distinctions are man-created. All distinctions, remember. Distinctions as such are man-created. Good, bad, pure, impure, moral, immoral, virtue, sin, all concepts are man-created. They are attitudes of man. They are not real. What is impure and what is pure? It depends on your interpretation. What is immoral and what is moral? It depends on your interpretation. Nietzsche has said somewhere that all morality is interpretation. So something can be moral in this country and immoral in the neighboring country. Something can be moral to a Mohammedan and immoral to a Hindu. Moral to a Christian and immoral to a Jain. Or even something can be moral to the older generation and immoral to the new generation. It depends. It is an attitude. Basically, it is a fiction. The fact is simply the fact. The naked fact is simply the fact. It is neither moral nor immoral, nor pure nor impure. Think of the earth without human beings. Then what will be pure and what will be impure? Everything will be, simply be. Nothing will be pure and nothing will be impure. Nothing will be good and nothing will be bad. With man, mind comes in. Mind divides. He says this is good and that is bad. This division not only creates a division in the world, this division creates a division in the divider also. If you divide, you are also divided in the division. And you cannot transcend your inner division unless you forget outer divisions. Whatsoever you do to the world, you have done to yourself also. Naropa says, one of the greatest masters of yoga. He says, an inch division and hell and heaven are set apart. An inch division and heaven and hell are set apart. And we go on dividing. We go on labeling, condemning, justifying. Look at the bare fact of existence and don't label it. Only then Tantra teaching can be understood. Don't say good or bad. Don't bring your mind to the fact. The moment you bring your mind to the fact, you have created a fiction. Now it is not a fact. It is not a reality. It is your projection. This sutta says the purity of other teachings is an impurity to us. In reality, no nothing as pure or impure. The purity of other teachings is an impurity to us. Tantra says, for other teachings, what is very pure, a virtue, is a sin for us. Because their concept of purity divides when something becomes impure. If you call a man saint, you have created the sinner. Somewhere you will have now to condemn someone. Because the saint cannot exist without the sinner. And look now at the absurdity of our efforts. And we go on trying to destroy sinners. And we conceive and hope a world where there will be no sinners, only saints. This is nonsense. Because saints cannot exist without sinners. They are the other aspect of the same coin. You cannot destroy one aspect of the coin, they both will exist. Sinners and saints both are part and parcel of one thing. If you destroy the sinners, saints will disappear from the world. But don't be afraid, let them disappear. Because they have no proof of any worth. Sinners and saints are both parts of one interpretation, of one attitude to look at the world. To say this is good and this is bad. And you cannot say this is good unless you say that that is bad. The bad is needed to define the
Osho, Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, Volume 2. A new commentary. Discourse number 2, given in Bombay, India.
The first question. Is it not true that an immoral life creates hindrances in meditation? What is meditation? It is not your character. It is not what you do. It is what you are. It is not the character, it is the consciousness that you bring to whatsoever you do. The doing is irrelevant, whether you are doing it consciously or not. It's the question, moral or immoral. But are you alert? If you are alert, meditation happens. If you are not alert, you live in sleep. You can be moral while fully asleep. There is no problem. Rather, it is better to be moral if you want to be fully asleep, because then society will not disturb you. Then nobody will be against you. You can conveniently sleep. The society will help you. You can be moral without being meditative. But the immorality will be always just behind you, just like a shadow it will follow. And your morality will be just skin deep. Because your morality can only be imposed from without when you are asleep. It can only be pseudo, false, a facade. It cannot become your being. You will become moral outwardly, inwardly you will remain immoral. And the more moral you become outwardly, the more immoral you will be within, in the same proportion. Because your morality is bound to be nothing but a deep suppression. You cannot do anything else while asleep. You can only suppress. And through this morality, you will also become false. You will not be a person, but simply a persona. Just a pseudo entirety. Misery will follow. And you will be constantly on the verge of explosion of all that you have suppressed. It is there, waiting for you. And if you are really honest to be moral while asleep, you will go mad. Only dishonest persons can remain moral without being mad. And that's what hypocrisy means. They just say they are moral, but they are not. And they find ways and means to be immoral. Constantly remaining on the surface moral, or pretending to be moral. Only then you can remain sane, otherwise you will go insane. This so-called morality leaves only two alternatives. If honest, you will become insane. If dishonest, you will become a hypocrite. So those who are clever, cunning, they are hypocrites. Those who are simple, innocent, and become a victim of such teachings go mad. While asleep, real morality cannot happen to you. And what do I mean by real morality? Something which is a spontaneous flowing out of your being, not imposed from without. And real morality is not in opposition of immorality. A real morality is just absence of immorality, not in opposition. For example, you can be taught that love your neighbors, love everyone, be loving. It can become a moral attitude. but the hate remains within. You force yourself to be loving, and a forced love cannot be real, cannot be authentic. It is not going to fulfill either you or the other person you love. No one is to be fulfilled by this false love. It's just like false water. No one's thirst is to be quenched by it. And the hatred is there. And the hatred is trying to assert. And the false love cannot be a real hindrance to it. Rather, the hatred will penetrate the false love and will poison even it. And your loving will become just a sort of hatred. Very tricky and cunning. But a real morality happens to a person who has gone deep within himself. And the deeper you move, the more loving you become. It is not something posed against hatred. It is not something antagonistic to hatred. The deeper you move, the more love flows out of you. It has nothing to do with hatred at all. It is not concerned with hatred at all. And the moment you reach to your center, you are loving without any moral imposition. You may not even be aware that you are loving. Really, how you can be aware? This love will just be so natural, just like breathing, just like your shadow following you. You will be simply loving. Tantra teaches the inner journey. Morality will happen, but that will be a consequence, not a prerequisite. Be clear about this distinction. Tantra says, don't be entangled between moral and immoral concepts. They are outer. Rather, move within. And so the techniques are there how to move within. And don't be concerned with moral and immoral, pure and impure. Don't be concerned with distinctions. Just to move within. Forget the outer world, the society, and whatsoever the society has taught you. All that society teaches is bound to be dualistic. It is bound to be suppressive. It is bound to create a conflict within you. And if the conflict is there, you cannot move within. So forget the conflict and forget all that creates conflict. Simply move within. The more deeper you go, the more moral you will become. But that morality will not be the morality of the society. You will be moral without being moral. Without being conscious that you are moral. Because there is nothing opposed to it within you. You are simply loving because you feel blissful when you are loving. It is a bliss in itself. There is no end to it. No result is needed. Not that you will get into the kingdom of God if you love. It is not a bargain. The morality that society preaches and so-called religions preach is a bargain. Do this and you will get that. If you don't do this, you will not get that. Even you will be punished. It is a bargain. Tantra morality is not a bargain. It is a happening. The deeper you move, you start living in the moment. You feel to love is bliss. It is not a step, a condition, a bargain towards something else. It is enough unto itself. You love because you feel blissful in loving. You are not doing anything for the neighbor. You are not obliging anyone else. It is the pleasure to be loving. It is good for you, right here and now. No future, heaven or hell. Just now it creates the heaven and the kingdom of God enters you. And this happens to all the virtues. The flower is spontaneously. Now look at the question. Is it not true that an immoral life creates hindrance in meditation? Really, the contrary is the truth. A meditative life creates hindrances in immoral life. Immoral life cannot create any hindrances. Immoral life means that you are non-meditative, nothing else. You are fast asleep. That's why you are doing harm to yourself. For Tantra, the basic thing is meditation, alertness, awareness. Nothing else is more basic than that. When someone is immoral, it's thought that he is not alert. It is just a symptom. The immoral life is just a symptom that he is not alert. What ordinary teaching is doing? Ordinary teachers will tell to this asleep man who is immoral to be moral. He may change from immorality to morality, but the sleep continues. So the whole effort is wasted. Because the real disease was not immorality. Immorality was just a symptom. The disease was non-alertness, non-meditativeness. That's why he was immoral. No, you can convert him towards morality. You can create fear. And you can make afraid only that person who is asleep. Otherwise you cannot create fear. You can create fear through hell. And you can create profit motive through heaven. These both things are possible only while you are asleep. If you are not asleep, you cannot be threatened. And you cannot be motivated because of profit. Those two things are meaningful only to the mind who is asleep. So create the fear of punishment. And he will move from immorality to morality. But he moves because of fear. Create profit motive. Then he can move from immorality to morality. But he moves because of lust, greed, profit. Greed and fear are part of the asleep mind. He remains asleep. Nothing basic is changed. He is good for the society, that's okay. For the society, the immoral person is a problem. The moral person is not a problem. So society has solved its problem, but the man remains asleep. For himself, nothing is solved. He is now more convenient to the society. Previously he was inconvenient. But try to observe the fact. An immoral person is inconvenient to the society, but he is convenient to himself. A moral person becomes convenient to the society, but becomes inconvenient to himself. So only the coin is put upside down. That's why immoral persons look more happy and gay, and moral persons serious, sad, burdened. The immoral person is fighting with the society, and the moral person is fighting with himself. The immoral person feels only because there is always fear of being caught. He is afraid of being caught, but he is enjoying. If no one catches him, if there is no fear of being caught, he is okay. The moral person is caught in a struggle with himself. Nothing is okay with him. He is only okay with the society. Morality is a lubricant. It helps you to move easily with others, but then you become uneasy with yourself. Uneasiness remains either with the society or with yourself. Only when you become awakened, uneasiness leaves you. Tantra is concerned with the basic disease, not with the symptoms. Morality is removing symptoms. So Tantra says, don't be concerned with moral or immoral concepts. It doesn't mean that Tantra says become immoral. How can Tantra say to you to become immoral when Tantra even cannot say to you to become moral? Tantra says the whole thing is irrelevant. Don't talk about morality and immorality. Come to the root. You can be moral or immoral, but that is only the symptom. Come to the root. The root is you are asleep, fast asleep. How to break this sleeping pattern. How to be aware and how not to fall again and again into sleep. That's what Tantra is concerned with. And once you become alert, your character will change. But that's a consequence. And Tantra says you need not worry about it. That's a consequence. Inevitably it happens. So you need not worry about it. You are not to bring it. It will happen. You simply become more and more alert. You will be less and less immoral. But this morality that will happen to you is not forced. It is not something done by you on your part. You are just trying to be alert and it happens. How can an alert man be violent? How can an alert man be filled with hatred and anger? It may look paradoxical, but it is so. One who is asleep, how he can be without hatred? Impossible. He can only pretend that there is no anger, no hatred. He can only pretend that there is love, compassion, kindness, sympathy. Those are all pretensions. Quite the contrary happens to the one who has awakened. If anger is needed, he can only pretend. He cannot be angry. He can only pretend. If anger is needed, and sometimes it is needed, he can only pretend. He cannot be sad. But if it is needed, he can pretend that he is sad. No, these are impossible. Love is natural now, as hatred was before. Love was a pretension before. Now hatred can only be a pretension, if needed. Jesus, fighting with the money changers in the great temple, was pretending. He cannot be angry. But he has chosen to pretend. He cannot be really angry. He can use anger, but he cannot be angry. As you use love, and you cannot be loving. You use love for certain purposes. Your love is just to get something else. It is never simply love. You may be trying to get money, you may be trying to get sex, you may be trying to get something. Ego fulfillment, a victory, a feeling that you are very powerful. You may be trying to get anything else, but it is never love. A Buddha can be angry if he thinks it is going to help. Because of his love, he may be sometimes angry. But that's only a pretension. And only fools are befooled by it. Those who know, they will simply laugh. As meditation deepens, Tantra says you start changing. And this is beautiful when change happens to you. If you do it, it can never be something very deep, because doing is just on the surface. So Tantra says allow it to happen from the being, from the very center. Let it flow from the center towards the periphery. Don't force it from the periphery towards the center. That is impossible. So Tantra will not say whether moral or immoral. The only thing is, if you are asleep, try to change it. Allow yourself to become more and more alert. Wherever you are, if you are immoral, Tantra says, okay, we are not concerned with your immorality. We are concerned with your sleep and how to transform it into alertness. Don't fight with the immorality. Just try to transform your sleep. If you are moral, okay, Tantra is not going to tell you to become first immoral. And then try. Neither the immoral has any need to transform himself in a moral person, nor the moral person to transform himself into immoral, to get into meditation. All that they need is how to change their quality of consciousness. So wherever you are, a sinner or a saint, for Tantra there is no distinction. If you are asleep, then try the techniques towards alertness. And don't try to change symptoms. The sinner is ill, and the so-called saint is also ill, because both are asleep. The illness is sleep, not your character. Your character is just a byproduct. And remaining asleep, whatsoever you do will not make any basic change. Only one thing can change can create a mutation, and that is alertness, how to become more and more alert. So whatsoever you do, make it an object of alertness. If you do some immoral act, do it meditatively. It will not be long when the act will dissolve by itself, disappears. And you will not be able to do it. Not because you have created an armor against it, but because now you are more alert. And how can you do a thing which needs sleep as a requisite? You cannot do it. Understand well this basic distinction between Tantra and so-called other teachings. Tantra is more scientific. It goes to the very root of the problem. Transforms you from the very being, not from your outer seat of character, morality, immorality, of acts and doings. Whatsoever you do is just on the periphery. Whatsoever you are is never on the periphery. The quality of the act, not the act itself, is meaningful for Tantra. For example, one butcher came to Nan Inn. He was a butcher, and Nan was a Buddhist monk, believing in non-violence. And his whole profession was violence. The whole day he was killing animals. But when the butcher came to Nan Inn and asked him that what he is to do, because his profession is violence. So am I to leave my profession first, and then only I can be a new man? Or is there some way? So Nan Inn said, we are not concerned with what you do. We are concerned with what you are. So go on doing whatsoever you are doing, but be more alert. While killing, remain alert, meditative. And go on doing whatsoever you are doing, we are not concerned. Nan Inn's followers became disturbed, because a person, a follower of Buddha, believing in non-violence, allowing the butcher to continue. Some disciples said, this is not good. And we never expected that a person like you will allow a butcher to remain a butcher. And when he was asking, you should have told, drop this. He was himself ready. Nan Inn is reported to have said that you can change the butcher's profession easily. He was himself ready. But you cannot change by that way his quality of consciousness. He will remain a butcher. He may become a saint, but the quality of the mind will remain that of a butcher. That will be a deception. For others, and for himself also. Go and look to your so-called saints. Many of them remain butchers. The quality, the attitude, the violence. Their very look towards you is condemning, violent. You are a sinner and they are saints. The very look when they see you, you are condemned. You are thrown into the hell. Knowing such, so it is not good to change his outer life. It is better to bring a new quality of his mind. And it is good to let him remain a butcher, because he is disturbed by his butchery and violence. If he becomes a saint, he will remain a butcher, but then he will not be disturbed. His ego will be strengthened. So this is good. He is disturbed that violence is there. And he has become at least this much aware that this is not good. He is ready to change, but just readiness to change will not help. A new quality of mind has to be developed. And let him meditate. After 1 year passed, the man came. He has become a different man. He was still a killer. But the man has changed. The being has remained the same. He came to Nan Inn again. He said, now, I am a different man. I meditated and meditated and meditated. And my whole life has become a meditation because you told me to meditate. And whatsoever I am doing, I am butchering animals. The whole day I am meditating. Now what do you tell me to do? So Nan Inn said, no, don't come to me. Now allow your awareness to make a path for you. You may not come to me. So the butcher said, no, only if you say to remain in the profession, I will pretend to be there. But as far as I am concerned, I am no more there. So if you allow me, I am not going back. But if you say, then it's okay. I will go and pretend and continue. This is how, when your quality changes, quality of consciousness, you become a different person altogether. And Tantra is concerned with you, not what you do. Second question, if one follows certain laws of life and calls it moral, then is there any objection from a tantric? Tantra has no objections. But this having no objections is the problem. Tantra has no objections whatsoever. Tantra is not in any way condemning. It is not concerned to tell you, do this, don't do that. If you feel good, if you feel happy, following certain principles, follow them. But following certain principles can never lead you to happiness. Because you are not going to change through principles and through following them. You will remain the same. Principles are always borrowed. Ideals are always borrowed. Someone else has given them to you. They are not your own. They have not grown out of your own experience. They are without roots. Just the society, the religion you are born to, the teachers you happen to be near, they have given them to you. You can follow them, and you can force yourself accordingly. But then you will be a dead person, not alive. You may create a certain peace around yourself. But that will be the peace of the cemetery, dead. You may be less vulnerable to disturbances, more closed in because of the principles. But then you will become less sensitive and less alive. So so-called principled men are always dead. Look at them. They look silent, still, peaceful, at ease. But a certain deadness is always around them. The odor of death is always there. You cannot feel the feast of life around them. The festivity of being alive, the celebration of being alive, you can never feel around them. They have created an armor around them, a safety armor. Nothing can penetrate them. The walls of their principles and characters stop everything. But then they are behind the walls, imprisoned. And they are their own prisoners. If you choose, Tantra has no objection. You are free to choose a life which is not a life at all. Once Mullah Nasruddin visited a cemetery, and he saw a very beautiful marble mausoleum. Incised on it, the name Rothschild. Mullah is reported to have said, this is what I call life. This is what I call living. A beautiful marble mausoleum. But howsoever beautiful, it is not life. Marbles, beautiful, rich, but not life. You can create a mausoleum out of your life through principles, ideals, impositions, but then you will be dead. Of course, less vulnerable, because death is not vulnerable. Death is a security. Life is always insecure. Anything can happen to a live person. Nothing can happen to a dead person. He is secure. There is no future, no possibility, no change. The last thing has happened to him, death. Now nothing can happen. Principled personalities are dead personalities. Tantra is not interested in them. Tantra has no objection. If you feel good being dead, it is your choice. You can commit suicide. And this is the suicide. But Tantra is for those who want to be more alive. And the truth and the ultimate is not death, it is life. Remember that. The ultimate is not death, it is life. More life. Jesus has said abundant life. Infinite life. So by being dead, you can never reach to the ultimate. If it is life, an abundant life, by being dead, you will never be in contact with it. Just by being more alive, more vulnerable, more sensitive. Less principled and more alert. Why you seek principles? You may not have observed. Why you seek principles? Because with principles, you need not be alert. You need not be alert. You live through a principle, you need not be alert. I make a principle of non-violence, so I stick to it. I make it a principle of being true, so I stick to it. It becomes a habit. I create a habit of being true, always speaking the truth. It becomes a mechanical habit. Now there is no need to be alert. I cannot speak lies, because a principle, a habit, will create a barrier always. The society depends on principles, inculcating, educating principles to the children. So they become incapable really. If a person becomes incapable, he is dead. Your truth can be alive only if it is through alertness, not through principle. Each moment you have to be alert to be true. Truth is not a principle. It is something born out of your alertness. No violence is not a principle. If you are alert, you cannot be violent. But that is difficult and arduous. You will have to transform yourself totally. It is easy to create a life according to principles, rules, regulations. Then you will not worry. You will not worry about being more alert, aware. You can follow the principle. You are just like a railway train running on the tracks. Those tracks are your principles. You are not afraid. You cannot miss the path. Really, you don't have any path. You have just mechanical wheels on which your train is running. You will reach the destination. You need not be afraid. You can be asleep. The train will reach. It is running on dead paths where they are not alive. But Tantra says, life is not like that. It is more like a river. Not running on iron rails, not on tracks. Really, it is like a river. The path even is not charted before. As the river flows, the path is created. As the river moves, the path is created. The river will reach to the sea. And this is how life should be if you understand the Tantra way. Like a river. No pre-charted path. No maps given to you to be followed. Just being alive and alert. And then wheresoever life leads you, you go with full confidence in it. Tantra is a trust. Trust in life force. Allow it to lead you. Don't force. Surrender to it and allow it to lead you towards the sea. Just be alert, that's all. While life leads you towards the sea, be alert so you don't miss anything. Really important to remember, Tantra is not simply concerned with the end, it is also concerned with the means. It is also concerned with the path, not only with the destination. If you are alert, even this life will be a bliss. The very movement of the river is a bliss in itself. Passing through the valleys, through the rocks, falling down from the hills, moving into the unknown, it is itself bliss. Be alert here also, because that is the ocean, the ultimate, cannot be just a happening in the end. It cannot be. It is a growth. The river is growing to be the sea. It is not simply going to meet the sea, it is growing to be the sea. And this growth is possible only through a rich experience. Alert, experiencing, moving, trusting. This is how Tantra looks at the search, the human search. Of course it is dangerous. If rivers can be run through predetermined paths, there will be less danger, less errors, but the whole beauty of aliveness will be lost. So don't be a follower of principles. Just be a creator of more and more consciousness. Those principles will happen to you, but you will never feel imprisoned in them. The second sutra, third question, discussed yesterday says the purity of other teachings is an impurity to us. In reality, no nothing as pure or impure. If nothing is impure, then how can the teaching of others be impure? Really, nothing is impure. But the teaching that something is pure and something is impure has to be discarded. Only in that sense the sutra says the teachings of others is an impurity to us. Nothing is pure and nothing is impure. But if someone teaches that something is pure and something is impure, Tantra says this has to be discarded. Only in this sense the sutra says the purity of other teachings is an impurity to us. Just discarding. Just saying that don't make any distinctions. Remain innocent. But look at the complexity of life. If I say remain innocent, and if you try innocence, that innocence will not be innocent. How it can be? You tried it. It has become a calculated thing. It cannot be innocent. If you try it, it cannot be innocent. So what is to be done? Just discard those things which create cunningness. Don't try to create any innocence. You cannot. Just discard those things which create cunningness in your mind. This is negative. When you have discarded them, the root causes of cunningness, the innocence will happen to you. Nothing is pure and impure. But what is to be done then? Your mind is filled with distinctions. This is pure and that is impure. So Tantra says for us, this is only impurity. This mind filled with concepts of purity and impurity is the only impurity. If you can discard it, you have become pure. In another sense also, this sutra is meaningful. There are teachings with very fixed rules. For example, Catholic Christian teaching or Jain Indian teaching, they are against sex. They say sex is impure, ugly, sin. Tantra says nothing is ugly, nothing is impure, nothing is sin. Even sex can become a path. Even sex can become a path towards salvation. It depends on you. It is not sex. It is you who determine the quality of it. Even prayer can become a sin. And sex can become a virtue. It depends on you. The value is not in the object. The value is brought by you to it. Look at it, at this phenomena in a different way. Tantra says even sex can become salvation. But then come to sex without any emotions. A purity, impurity, good or bad, morality, immorality. Come to sex as pure energy, just energy. Move in that energy as if you are moving into the unknown. Don't fall asleep. Be alert. When sex brings you to the very root of your being, be alert. Don't fall asleep on the path. The relaxation that comes, the tension that happens, the peak that comes, and the valley in which you are thrown back. Be alert and experience everything, whatsoever is happening. Your ego dissolves for a moment. You become one with your beloved or with your father. For a moment, the two are not there. Bodies are two. But deep down, there is a communion and they have become one. Be alert. Don't miss this moment in your sleep. Be alert. See what is happening. So this is what was hidden in the sex act. The sex was just the outer core. Now this is the meaning, the central point. This is what you were longing. This is what was the hankering for. This was the search, this unity, this dissolving of the ego, this feeling of oneness, this ecstasy of non-tension, this ecstasy of realization. So this was the meaning, the goal. And this is what you were searching. Through this woman and that, through this man and that, and you were searching and searching. No woman can fulfill it. No man can give it. Only through a deep Tantra awareness, the sex act, completely this ecstasy is revealed. So Tantra says, it is you. If you can bring meditation to your love, to your sex, the sex is transformed. So we don't say this is pure and that is impure. And if you want to use the old terminology of purity and impurity, then I will say for Tantra, sleep is impure. Alertness is pure. And all else is just meaningless. If an emotional desire, the fourth question, our mood becomes accelerated and we do not express it outwardly, does this energy necessarily go back to the source and make the person fresh and energetic? Not necessarily. But if you are aware, then necessarily. Any energy needs roots to move. And no energy can be destroyed. Energy is indestructible. So only it can change into different forms, but it can never become nothing. So when you try to suppress any energy, you are doing absolute nonsense with yourself. Energy cannot be suppressed. It can only be transformed. A suppressed energy will become a cancer. You feel anger. Two ordinary routes are available. Either express it or suppress it. If you express, then it becomes a chain, because then you create anger in the other person and he will express it. And there is no end to it. Then you will express it and it can continue for years. It continues, that's how. Everyone is living, it goes on and on. Those who know deeply, they say for lives also. Lives together, it goes on and on. You have been angry with a person in your past life, and still in this life you are repeating the same pattern with the same person. You are not aware, blissfully unaware. So that's good, you think something new is happening. 99% nothing new is happening. Just the old patterns being repeated again and again. Sometimes you suddenly feel a stranger and you become angry. He has not done anything. You have not even met him before. And you feel depressed, or angry, or violent, or you want just to escape from that person. You feel bad. Why? Some old pattern. Energy never dies. It remains. So if you express, you are falling into an eternal chain. Someday you will have to come out of it. And the whole thing is useless. Just wastage. Don't start the chain. Then the other ordinary alternative is suppress it. And when you suppress it, you are creating a wound within yourself. That will be suffering. That will create problems. And the anger will go on being suppressed. You will become a volcano of anger. So it may be you are not now expressing your anger, but now your whole personality will become angry. There will be no eruptions. No one will see you beating someone and being violent, but now your whole personality becomes angry because so much anger within passions you. Now whatsoever you do, the anger part is there. Even while you are loving someone, the anger part is there. Everything. You are eating your food and the anger part is there. You will be violent with your food. You will not be loving. You are opening a door and the anger part will be there. You are violent with the door. One day morning, Mullah Nasruddin was passing down a street and relishing oaths and saying very angrily, the devil will take possession of your spirit and beasts will grow in your belly. And so on and on. And one man looked at him and said, Mullah, whom you are cursing so much so early in the morning? So Mullah said, who? I don't know, but don't worry, someone will turn up sooner or later. If you are filled with anger, this happens. You are just waiting, someone will turn up. And inside you are bubbling with fire. Just waiting, some object, some medium, someone who should help you to unburden. Then your whole personality becomes angry, or violent, or sexual. You can suppress sex, and then sex becomes your whole personality. And wherever you look, you will see sex. Whatsoever you touch, you will see sex. Whatsoever you do will be a sexual act. You can suppress sex very easily, it is not difficult. But then sex will spread all over you. Your every fiber, every cell will become sexual. Look to the celibates, their mind becomes totally sexual. They dream about sex. They fight with sex. Constantly they fantasy about sex, obsessed. That which could have been natural has become perverted. If you express, you create a chain. If you suppress, you create a wound. And both are not good. So Tantra says, whatsoever you do, anger, when you feel anger is coming, be uninterruptedly aware. Don't suppress it and don't express it. Do a third thing, a third alternative. Be suddenly aware that anger is coming. This awareness changes your energy that is moving as anger into a different energy. The very energy that is known as anger becomes compassion. Through alertness, the transmutation. The same energy which is known as sex becomes brahmacharya, spirituality. Through awareness. Alertness is the alchemy. Through it, everything changes. Try it and you will come to know. When you bring alertness, awareness to any mood, any feeling, any energy, it changes its nature and quality. It is never the same again. And a new route opens. It is not going back again to the same place where it was, from where it came. It is not moving outward. The horizontal movement has stopped. With alertness, it becomes vertical. It is moving upwards. That is a different dimension. A bullock cart moves horizontally. An aeroplane goes vertical, upwards. like to tell you one parable. One fakir, a Sufi, used to say that someone was presented by a friend, by a great king, an aeroplane, a very small aircraft. But the man was poor. He has heard about aeroplanes, but he has never seen. He knew only bullock carts. So he thought this is some new device, a new type of bullock cart. So he used these two bullocks to bring the aeroplane home. And then he used the aeroplane as a bullock cart. And he was very happy. Of course, the small aircraft works as a bullock cart. But then by and by, just being curious, he started studying it. Then he came to understand that bullocks are not needed. It has got a motor. So it can go on by itself. So he fueled it and used it as a motor car. But then by and by he became aware of the wings. And he thought, wow, they are. And the man who has devised this machine seems to be very intelligent, a genius. And he cannot take something unnecessarily. So the wings so that the machine can fly also. So he tried. And then the aeroplane came to its own. It became vertical. The mind that you have got, you are using as a bullock cart. The same mind can become a motor car. Then bullocks will not be needed. It has an inbuilt mechanism. But then too it will be moving horizontally. But the same mind has wings. You have not observed, that's why you don't know it has wings. It can fly. It can move upwards. And once it moves upwards, your energies start moving upwards. The whole world is different. Your old questions simply fall down. Your old problems are no more there. Because you are now vertically moving. All those problems were because you were horizontally moving. The problems for a bullock cart are not the problems for an aeroplane. The road was not good, so it was a problem. The road was blocked, so it was a problem. No, it is not a problem because the road is not used at all. So whether blocked or not, whether good or not, it is irrelevant. Moral teachings are bullock cart teachings. Tantra teaching is vertical. That's why all those problems are irrelevant for Tantra. Your energy, that is, you know, as anger, sex, Greek observer, is moving horizontally. Once you bring your alertness to it, you have brought a new dimension. Just by being alert, you move upwards. Why? Observe the fact. When you are alert, you are always above the fact. Become alert about anything and you are always above the fact. The fact is somewhere below down. You are looking from above, from a peak. Whenever you witness something, you have moved upwards. And the thing has remained below. If this attention is really authentic, and uninterruptedly you can be aware, the energy that was moving horizontally as anger, as sex, will move into this new dimension. It will come near to you, to the witness. You have started flying. And the device which is to fly, we have been using as a bullock cart for lives and lives. And unnecessarily creating problems. Just not knowing what is possible to you. Fifth question. You said that one should neither suppress nor indulge in sex or anger, but one should remain passively alert and meditative. Obviously, it will need a sort of inner effort to avoid suppression or indulgence. But then, is not it also a sort of suppression? No. It is an effort, but not a sort of suppression. Every effort is not suppression. There are three types of effort. Effort which is expression. When you express your anger, it is an effort. Then second type of effort, when you suppress it. When you express what you are doing, you are forcing your energy outward, to the person, to the object. You are throwing your energy. The other is the target. Energy moves to the other. It is an effort. When you suppress, you return the energy back to the original source, to your own heart. You force it back. It is an effort. But the direction is different. In expression, it moves away from you. In suppression, it again moves near you. The third, alertness, passive alertness, is also an effort. But the dimension is third. The energy moves upwards. In the beginning, it is an effort. And when I say, be passively alert, in the beginning, even passivity is bound to be an effort. Only by and by, as you become more acquainted with it, it will not be an effort. And when it is not an effort, it becomes more passive. And the more passive, the more magnetic to pull the energies upwards. But in the beginning, everything is going to be an effort. So don't become a victim of words. It creates problems. Mystics have always been talking about effortlessness. Don't make any effort, but in the beginning, even this is going to be an effort. When we say be effortless, we only mean that don't force the effort. Allow it to come through awareness. If you force it, you will become tense. If you become tense, anger cannot move upwards. Tension is horizontal. Only non-tense mind can be above, hovering like a cloud. Look at the clouds, floating, with no effort. Just bring your witnessing as a floating cloud. But in the beginning, it is going to be an effort. Only remember that you are to make it effortless. Less and less. Forcing it. More and more allowing it. This is difficult. Because language creates the difficulty. If I tell you relax, what you will do? You will make an effort. But then I tell you, don't make any effort, because if you make any effort, that will create tension and you will not be able to relax. Simply relax. So you are at a loss. And you are bound to ask them, what do you mean? If I am not going to make any effort, then what I am supposed to do? You are not supposed to do anything. But in the beginning, that non-doing will look like a doing. So we say, okay, make a little effort, but remember that the effort is to be left behind. Just in the beginning, use it as a start. Because you cannot understand non-doing, you can understand only doing. So, use the language of doing an action, start it, but only use it as a starter. And remember that the more early you leave it behind, the better. I have heard that when Mullah Nasruddin became very old, he became a victim of insomnia. He couldn't sleep. Everything was tried. Hot baths, pills, tranquilizers, syrups. Nothing was of much help, of no avail. And the children were disturbed, because Mullah will not sleep himself and will not allow anyone to sleep in the house. So the whole night has become a nightmare for the whole family. So they searched desperately any method, any medicine that will help Mullah to sleep, because the whole family was going crazy. So finally, they brought a hypnotist. And the children came very happy and told old Mullah that no, you need not be worried, Papa. This is a miracle man. He creates a sleep within minutes. He knows the very magic of it. So you don't be worried. Now there is no fear and you will sleep. The hypnotist sold a watch with a chain to Nasruddin and said, only very little faith will do the miracle. You need a little trust towards me. Just trust me. And you will fall like a small babe into deep sleep. Look at this watch. And he started moving that watch left and right. Nasruddin looked at it. And the hypnotist said, left, right. Your eyes are getting tired. You are falling asleep. And everyone was happy. Mullah's eyes closed. His head moved down. He fell like a small babe into deep sleep. A very rhythmic breathing came. So the hypnotist took his fee, put his finger on his lips, just to tell the children that no, don't disturb, and they stole out. The moment he was out, Mullah opened his one eye and told that nut, has he gone yet? He was doing the effort of relaxing. So he relaxed like a babe. He started breathing rhythmically, closed his eyes. But it was all effort. He was helping the hypnotist. He thought that he is helping the hypnotist. But it was effort on his part, and nothing can happen. He was awake. If he could have just been passive, heard what was being said, looked what was being shown, the sleep would have happened. No effort on his part was necessary. Only passive acceptance was necessary. But even to bring your mind to that passive acceptance, in the beginning, you will need effort. So don't be afraid of effort. Start with effort. Just remember that effort has to be left behind and you have to move beyond effort. Only when you are moved beyond, you will be passive. And that passive awareness brings the miracle. With passive awareness, mind is no more there. For the first time, your inner center of being is revealed. And there is reason. Effort is needed for anything to do in the world. If you want to do in the world anything, effort is needed. But if you want to do something in the inner, no effort is needed. Just relaxation is needed. Non-doing is the art there, as doing is the art in the outside world. This passive alertness is the key. But don't get disturbed by language. Start with effort. Just keep in mind that you have to leave it and go on leaving it. Even leaving will be an effort, but the moment comes, everything has gone. You are there, simply there. Not doing anything, just there, being. That beingness is samadhi. And all that is worth knowing, worth having, worth being, happens to you in that state.